We're excited for, this is, we call the third season of the year. Um, the, in the sense of the regular season Big Ten, the postseason Big Ten, and then the NCAA is to kind of digest a little bit. And the team's in a really good place. It's been a long break, more than usual, but it's somewhat equal for everyone out there. So I wouldn't say it's anyone's advantage or disadvantage. So really the challenge this week is kind of going back and looking at some things that we did well and didn't do well in the last few games and get into some nitty gritty, if you will, on some details. At the same time, keep things nice and short. So they're hungry. You want them really edgy, come Sunday. And our preparation, I think, is going really well. We're getting guys that maybe were a little bit nicked up, a little bit more time to get healthier, which is another positive of the break. And at the same time, certainly experimenting with the moves we might do with Joey's absence due to the red card, which is obviously a big piece to this first game. The challenge is you have two teams that are going to play each other that most everyone else in the field knows their opponent. So they have certainly a lot of time to prepare for the one team. We have to prepare for two and then quickly turn that around to get the guys ready. The flip side, obviously, they have to play a game and play 4 days later. So I kind of splitting hairs on where you are with that, but we'll be prepared for Milwaukee and St. Francis, Brooklyn, and whoever comes out ahead, we'll be ready for the Sunday game.
First question, Jeremy Price.
Yeah, Todd, you mentioned, having the extended break, which everybody kind of has to deal with, but is it helpful to you guys that you've kind of been through that before this season with having some pauses and things where you've had a week or 2 weeks off in the past?
I think it has. And yeah, we had, obviously with Penn State, not canceling on us, and then the Maryland situation with them as well. It did, and that one you weren't even ready for, but we said it from the fall, get ready for every curveball imaginable, and we've gotten some of those. So yeah, I think other teams had the same situation too, Jeremy, in fairness. So we can't even compare it to a normal year because it is so different. The time of year we're playing or the rhythm. I do know that the games in the latter stages of the spring felt a heck of a lot closer to a fall season in the sense of just back playing in our stadiums. Obviously, the fans are really tough not to have, but it felt a lot closer. Those early games inside the some of the indoor venues was a challenge. But to answer your question, Jeremy, I think we're as best poised to handle the break as anyone.
Zach Osterman.
Hey, Todd, sorry to kind of parachute in here, but with a bigger picture question, but not just about this season, but these last 3-4 seasons. I mean, it's 6 combined Big Ten titles, a couple college cups. I know you've obviously got your eyes on trying to get to another one. You've had different kinds of teams that played different ways, scored different ways, experienced teams, younger teams. The constant has just kind of been, maybe the most successful period in your tenure, just in terms of both Big Ten success and national success. What do you think it's been about? Are there 2 or 3 things, I guess, you can kind of pin on the wall and say, this is what has allowed us to sustain even when strengths have changed, teams have changed, obviously personnel's changed, and even the league has changed?
Yeah, I think it's several factors. I think the turnaround from the 18-19 year was a pivotal time, Zach, because of losing all but the one starter. And when we had the success that we had in 19, I think was just a shot in the arm to everyone that's associated, young or old, of the program, that it's the next guy's turn. And we have good players that maybe just haven't had the time yet, but are ready for that next challenge. And then to have success in the 19 season was said a lot. So I think that gave a lot of confidence to the younger players, and also a reminder, how important the race isn't the same for everyone. And that, I think, was crucial. The ability to carry the roster size that we do, Zach, is important. It allows us to develop and have competition. I think that's been a key staple for our program. And with regards to just this particular segment, the 17-18 team was a very good attacking team, but needed, 20, 30% more chances to score goals. And, our efficiency number in and around goal is different, yet chances created, not as many as that 17-18 team, which was just so dynamic going forward. But man, this team certainly can score goals, and we've shown that in restarts, and certainly with Victor's, has been different. He's an elite goal scorer. We don't have these every cycle. If Mason would still be around as a junior senior, certainly he could have been in that same category, but obviously he departed after his first year. So I think a goalkeeper that's as confident, as talented as Roman, and a goal scorer, is a key to any team's success. And certainly with one coming off so many lost positions and experience, I think that really was really pivotal for us. And Jack Mayer was a key, a huge connector to that group, Zach. I mean, he's such a leader, and we don't have Jack connect 18 to 19. I don't know if we're able to bridge that as successfully. And I give a lot of credit to Jack and how he and others did a good job with that.
Jared Kelly, then Evan.
It's with the bubble environment you guys are going into. I think if you guys are heading out at the end of the week or whatnot, if you guys make a deep run, you guys could be there for a couple of weeks. In most years, you guys would have the opportunity of playing at home for a couple games. Does this kind of change anything? The fact that you guys don't get that home game, and that you do kind of have to be in that bubble, kind of cooped up.
Yeah, it's the team I said you maxed out. I think I mentioned this to you guys. We maxed out our home games, and that's always the goal of every team. Based on this year's criteria, that's as far as we could go, was to win the Big Ten Conference tournament at home with being the highest seed in the regular season. So I'm really happy with that, because that's kind of like a complete season in that segment. And then, with the bubble and the COVID, everything is different and new. And it's strange to be playing in April, no doubt. I still, going out to trainings, and the temperature is just a different feel. This will be new to all of us, Jared. I mean, coaches, players. I think what we have to do is just keep things as consistent and as simple as it needs to be, and not over exaggerate or overthink really the fact that we're all in a bubble and we're not playing at home. I guess that's really what will be the focus for us, is that this is just what we're dealt with, and we got to deal with it. And we haven't even talked about it. Honestly, we talked about maxing out our home games, but the teams, they're just excited to play in the tournament. So where and when we play, I mean, for them as a player, is I think is irrelevant now that there's no opportunity to play a home game.
Evan, and then Kevin Brockway.
Yeah, Todd, how are you guys preparing for that first round matchup? Obviously not knowing exactly who you're playing yet.
Well, the staff we've kind of divided and conquered. I've had the assistants help with the initial, dissection of both teams. So we have tendencies already down for both. And then we don't show the team yet until we know who we're playing. There's no reason for them to be thinking about two opponents. So our focus is on us, and then we'll start introducing our opponent to them on Friday, once we have that game wrapped up, or that game's wrapped up on Thursday. And then, so we'll be ahead. We'll obviously use some of the video and tendencies that we picked up from the Thursday game, but we have enough, information on both teams at this point to feel pretty good that we'll have a good idea of what we need to do to take advantage or be aware of their strengths.
Kevin, and then Ari.
Yeah, Coach. How have you guys adapted without Spencer Glass? And I know he's an experienced, talented guy. Is he going to travel with you at all, or has he been around the team, kind of encouraging the team and so forth?
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's been at every practice. He's extensively in his own rehab, but he does it all around our team training. So when the team's training, he's doing his rehab, and he's been a phenomenal captain, leader, and very selfless, because it's easy to do a woe me, why me senior year. I mean, my God, we've already dealt with COVID. Seniors can be disenchanted already, and then let alone have a broken leg and be watching from the sidelines. So I think Spencer knows that his positivity and his help with, he's pulling guys aside and giving them little pointers. I think he's keeping the seniors locked in, the captains, and I just can't say enough about him. And we're obviously not as, Spencer's a weapon. I mean, he is an absolute, that service and his experience you can't replace. So whoever we put there is different than Spencer. But like every team we mentioned, you got to be ready to figure it out. And we have good depth in all of our positions. And it's just the skill set that he brings is like we'll play a bit different. You've seen us play. We've been a little bit more right-sided. We're not going to ask guys to hit early serves that can't hit it. We're going to come inside a little bit more from that side. It's just we have to pick up on the strengths of our new teammates in those positions. And we could be differently effective, quite honestly, but not that lethal attacking piece that Spencer had in his experience and leadership you can't replace. So we're doing our best without him.
Ari and then Tom Brew.
Coach, I know you've been a big proponent of the split season. How much do you think or hope having the College Cup now, and if it goes successfully, do you think we'll finally make this split season thing a reality possibly?
I'm bullish that the administrators will be able to kind of, after we get through this spring, after having all these sports play at one time, and they can actually get a break and hopefully take a vacation, all of our administrators and support staff, they need it desperately, can look back and go, man, we pulled it off with these many games and teams, sports that would never play in the spring, and look at it and really then go back to the soccer people and say, if this is that important to you, we can pull this off. And the model is a little bit different. We don't play in February. The games don't start until March. So we wouldn't be in those proverbial indoor facilities. The season goes about a month longer. So we'd be getting into conference tournament play in May, and then the tournaments more in June. And we start later. So we would have a different feel, but yeah, I think it's the best move forward for college soccer. I think we do get a lot out of our current model, and I don't think it's broken. I think we could just be better. And that's the big difference. It's not broken, yet like anything, be open to positive change. And many people are afraid of that. And I think today more than ever, we have to be open-minded to, what's maybe best and not look at it as a one size fits all. The NCAA, I think, has to look at different sports demands and get away from what worked in 1950. It's just not what today is, and every sport's different. So I'm excited that I wouldn't want them to decide right now. That's why it's not going to vote until next April, because I think there's too much going on right now and everyone's a little overwhelmed. But after we get to digest it, I feel confident that this could happen, and I think it'd be a good step forward for the game.
Tom Brew and then Matt.
Todd, I know you just said that your kids don't really care where they're playing as long as they are playing, but having just experienced this bubble scenario here with the basketball where guys are sort of cooped up in hotels for 3 weeks and such, which is something really no one's ever done before. I mean, have you done much talking to people about what that might be like on an extended stay or not, or are you just sort of just taking it a day at a time?
Well, Tom, I think the positive for our tournament is that it won't be as quite lockdown, if you will. We can leave the hotel. We just have to be really smart on where we go, and it will only be with our team and our bubble. We'll travel as a bubble, but we can go to a local park. We can move around a little bit. Just everything we do is an inherent risk if you're not smart, and we'll be really intelligent. So I do feel like we can get them out a little bit more than maybe basketball was able to do, because the nature of maybe just the complexity of that many teams, and maybe they've learned that maybe it was a little bit too much. Maybe they could let it up to each team to make good decisions. But so it will be bubblish, but it won't be quite as locked down maybe as maybe you saw for basketball. So the guys can get out of the hotel. I don't know how you could sit in a hotel for that long and not go stir crazy. Now that I don't think anyone can prepare for.
Matt and then Jared Kelly.
Hey, Coach, you touched on this a little bit, but, Victor Brazzera in his last 3 games scored 5 goals with one of those against Penn State. Can you sort of talk about the impact that he's had on this club and how that will transition into the tournament?
Well, he's had the year that we certainly were hoping for. What we saw, you saw the start of that as a freshman. I mean, it's some of our best goal scorers. It's not easy as a freshman to be pounding 8, 10, 12 goals. I mean, Will Bruin was like 4, 8, 9, then it was like 16. I mean, it just every year, or maybe it was 4, 8, 16 his junior year, but Eric Zavaleta, some of the other ones that have scored a lot of goals for us. Ken Snow is just one of the anomalies. I mean, to have 28 goals as a freshman, I still just marvel at that. But I think the guys knew this fall, our training games and just the way he was performing and scoring, no one on the team would be surprised on what he's done, nor the staff. And now with him doing it and him being confident as he is, it just gives your team a heck of a lot of juice, because you just always feel it's like you got one goal in you. And we know where to get him the ball. There's no ego to go like, well, I need to get my point. We know where to set Vic up. There's certain moments that, his movements might be more to open up space, and we do so, but it's clear as can be on who is the one we're trying to get the ball at certain positions. And yet we can score other kinds of goals. And that also gives the guys confidence. Herb's progression in the scoring, you see a little bit of the progression of Maloon Gumbale's performance. Ryan Wittenbrink has been an absolute, I wouldn't call it discovery. It's just been a 3-year process, but we've unleashed him and gave him time. And he's now very much a goal scoring threat. And then you have some experienced older guys like Thomas Ward, who hasn't had a lot of goals, but he can score goals. And Nate Ward, you name it. So we got guys that can score, and we got guys that can score in restarts. So getting back to your beginning of your question, confidence with a goal scorer gives your team a different edge.
Jared Kelly?
Kind of in the same vein as Vic, but Roman has really exploded this season. Obviously he played a lot last year and was great last year, but this year he's kind of taken it to another level. I know you touched on this after the PKs in the Big Ten tournament, but just having a moment to kind of take a step back and see Roman's evolution from true freshman who kind of got thrown in their midseason all the way till now. Just what do you think makes him so special?
Well, let's first start with he has an incredible athletic build and gifts. He is you would call like a really good soccer goalkeeper build. He's got size, he's quick, he's got courage, and you throw those skill sets, which are God given, with his incredible work rate. I don't think anyone, I wouldn't say is better or certainly could match Roman when it comes to his desire to get better. He's the guy we have to pull out of the weight room a bit. And I have to tell Tom, no, less for Roman. He wants to stay after. He wants extra reps. I got to pull him out of activities so that we can protect him and give the other guys minutes. He never wants a day off. So you throw that in with his level of play, his confidence, and his growth tactically. A lot of the video work that we've done with him, I think, has been really good. And then experience is the end all be all for goalkeepers. That's why we always say they marinate late, let it sit for a little bit. They're the best when they're in their late 20s, maybe in 30s. If you look at the big picture, and obviously Roman is just growing really quickly. And for a keeper that was not necessarily what you would consider a blue chip, which is hard to believe, coming out as a youth player. So I can't say enough about he's a special goalie, and we've had a couple here in a row, and we've had several more in our program, and he is on pace to be in that elite category. He's definitely on that pace.
Matt?
So although the Penn State match sort of went to a penalty shootout, does this sort of help prepare the team for potentially high pressure situations in the tournament?
You do want, if you can, in a normal season with more games, you do want to get to overtimes. You do want potentially to get to a penalty shootout with good results. I feel it was very different of our 2017 penalty kick shootout with Wisconsin. I would have done anything to buy any more minutes I could have in that game. It was like we are on top of that team and a really good Wisconsin team, but we just absolutely just were on top of that team and could not find a goal. And I felt like the psychological piece flipped in penalties, and they had a great goalkeeper and with PKs, and they had some very good shooters. So you then make it into the last week's game. When you're defending as much as we were down a man, you go to penalties, the edge goes to you. So I felt that's a good way for us to have that confidence that we can win a PK shootout. I say all the time, if you go deep in your conference tournament and deep in the NCAA tournament, you're likely to go to one shootout. That's 8 games, and the margins are tight. So that means there's probably going to be a draw somewhere, and you're going to penalties. And, winning a penalty kick shootout is very much here as much as it is the actual technical piece and training. So I love the fact that we've had success there. Let's hope that we can just take care of things in regulation. But if we end up going to that moment, I feel like our team will certainly be ready and confident.
Last question for Tom Brew.
Todd, you've been involved in NCAA tournaments as both a player and a coach. Can you tell me, what is the biggest thing from a mental standpoint that's different as a coach now as compared to what you had to deal with between your ears as a player?
Well, as a player, as soon as the game started, you stop thinking about stuff. You just played. And that's why playing's a lot more fun than coaching. I love coaching, but I would never trade my playing days if I had a trade, I'd keep my playing days, because it's just something about it. It's a different feeling. But getting to your question, I think you want to keep things consistent and simple and not have things change. You don't want your players to be overly excited. We all know what the game means, and what's on the line. You want them to go out and be bolstered with confidence and know the details will help us win this game. And we preach that every day. And then as a coach, same thing. You've done your work. You can change a few things here and there. You can help set a couple changes, but at this point, the work is done. And it's the players are in control of what's going to happen. And you just have to, again, show the steadfast and just the consistency, and also confidence in what you guys have been doing. And if you do that, then you give your team the best chance to win. No guarantees in this thing. It's hard to go the distance, but those are, I think, some simple keys to our tournament success, is that we don't change a lot. If anything, we simplify it and keep it simple and not overcoach. It's hard to do sometimes. You want to give them more, but not, in essence, the players can only digest a certain amount of information, and you want them going and playing free, relaxed, and just going after it. And I like that as a player, so I try to think of that as a coach.